Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all here today in this wonderful building. We begin the day with a prayer, so perhaps we just close our eyes, and we know that through the Spirit Jesus is with us, and we pray that that Spirit will help us this day as we reflect on the work of LifeLink, and we call on that Spirit to open our hearts. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God of mercy and compassion, we praise you for your goodness. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Fill us with the spirit of loving service. As we recognise in those we meet the face of Jesus, your Son. Through the generous work of our LifeLink welfare agencies, may burdens be lifted from the shoulders of your people, and may they feel the warmth of your kindness and love. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, students. On behalf of Newman College, it's my pleasure today to welcome Archbishop Tim Costello, Bishop Donald Sproxton, and Dr. Tim McDonald. We further acknowledge today additional special guests in Miss Diana Altieri, Team Leader, Religious Education and Faith Formation, Catholic Education Western Australia, Dr. Ed Simons, Director Governance and Administrative Services, Catholic Education Western Australia, Ms Simone Warden, Head of Marketing and Communications, Catholic Education Western Australia, Mr Greg Russo, CEO Administration, the Archdiocese of Perth, Mr Terry Wilson, Chief Operations Officer and Vicar for Social Outreach of the Archdiocese of Perth. And today, of course, we welcome all schools in the live streaming, and to you here, students of the Archdiocese of Perth and everyone participating here today. As always, and in tradition here in our wonderful country, we acknowledge the Noongar people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. We also pay respect to the elders past and present of the Noongar Nation and extend that respect to other Aboriginal people present here today. One of the great strengths of our Catholic schools is that we place Jesus Christ at the centre of each of our communities. We strive to be people of faith, people of love, and people of hope, with the understanding that God has a plan for each of us here today. And that plan is that our gifts are harnessed and that those talents that he has given to us will bear their fruit. So today, to commence our celebration, I would like to introduce some very talented and special people. I'd like to invite our Year 6 Student Council of Newman College to showcase their talents. They'll be reciting the poem God's Flight by Heather Flood. So we can put our hands together for our Year 6 Student Council of Newman College.
On the ground sits a bird that's too afraid to fly. Beautiful wings could make it soar, but the pain of past failure is its lonesome cry. God said unto this bird, trust and have faith in me, for I will carry you in your flight. The miracle of life is waiting for you to see. The bird said to God, but I can't fly. I am weak. I will fall and feel pain. It's happened before when I tried to fly. I'm afraid of being hurt again. His voice soft and reassuring, God said to the bird, I created you and I will protect you. Your lonesome cry I have heard. Have faith in me. That's all you need to do. So stand up, bird, and spread your wings, the wings I lovingly created to let you fly. If you fall, I'll pick you up and lift you back into the sky. With trembling legs and unsure wings, the bird finally looked to the sky. It took a deep breath and took the chance. The bird began to fly. Thank you, God, for believing in me. Thank you for giving me wings. Thank you for your protecting hands. Your glory I will now sing. God sang unto this bird in its majestic flight. Little bird, I'll always be with you and protect you with all my might. You may stumble, you may fall, that doesn't mean that I don't care. I will watch over you in case you need help, and then I'll be right there. The little bird, once so scared, learned to soar to new heights. The occasional fall no longer scared the bird, choosing to have faith in God's flight.
Thank you, Year 6. I would now like to introduce and call to the lectern the Most Reverend Donald Sproxton, Auxiliary Bishop of Perth and the Chairman of LifeLink. Let's put our hands together for Bishop Donald Sproxton.
Thank you, Mr. Finneran, for your warm welcome. And again, good morning to us here gathered at Newman College, but also a word of welcome to those who are with us participating via our live streaming. Archbishop Timothy and I are truly delighted that you have joined us this morning for this very special launch of LifeLink Day 2017 for primary schools. We have representatives from 73 of the 90 primary schools in our archdiocese here for this occasion, which is wonderful. I'd like to acknowledge our valued partner, Catholic Education Western Australia, for its generous assistance in making today's event possible, and especially to Mr. Finneran and everyone here at Newman College for generously hosting our launch this year. I should mention that we are filming our launch today so that everyone at your school who couldn't join us or participate via the live streaming will be able to access videos online via the LifeLink website. What is LifeLink? Why was it started? What does it do? And whom do we help? To answer these questions, we have a wonderful video presentation which many of you may have already seen, and I hope so. But if you haven't, I'd like to share this with you now. It's called Welcome to LifeLink, and this is an edited version of the full video you will find online.
Welcome everybody. LifeLink was established by the Archdiocese of Perth in 1994 as the unifying name under which the many welfare and social service agencies established or supported by the Church would be funded and promoted. A number of our agencies have served people in need within communities throughout Western Australia for more than 30 years and are well known. Organisations such as Centrecare, Identity WA and Centrecare Employment and Training. The Shopfront, Day Dawn and Emmaus community organisations were established more recently to meet emerging needs identified within the community. Each agency or service, funded or supported through LifeLink, represents an essential part of the Church's mission to reach out to those in need and in doing so, express faith in a direct and tangible manner. As you all know, as Catholics, we believe that it is through service to others that we see and experience the true face of Jesus. Pope Francis expressed this when he said, "It is not only in what we believe and what we say, but in what we do, that we come to fully know and understand the message of love which Jesus brought to the world." Just as Jesus walked with and reached out to the poor, the lonely, the isolated and the abused, we too are called upon to give concrete expression to our faith through our active service to others. Through the wonderful work of our LifeLink agencies, we bear witness to and are a vital part of engaging with people who reach out to us for help. I hope you enjoy this informational video.
LifeLink is not a welfare organisation. It is the fundraising and promotional arm for the many welfare agencies and services established by the Archdiocese of Perth. LifeLink currently provides funding support to the following agencies and organisations established or supported by the Church: Catholic Ministry for people who are deaf or hearing impaired, Catholic Outreach, Centre Care Employment and Training, Centre Care Incorporated, Juraminda, Day Dawn Advocacy Centre, Emmanuel Centre, Emmaus Community, Identity WA, Samaritan Projects, The Shopfront.
Whilst it may not always be obvious, there are thousands of people who desperately need our help right here in Perth and throughout WA.
LifeLink Catholic caring agencies reach out to more than 34,000 Western Australian families and individuals in need each year. By providing services and respite care to individuals, families and children with physical or intellectual disability. By offering safe refuge and assistance for women and children escaping domestic abuse or violence. Providing emergency housing, skills training for the unemployed, food and support for the homeless, and caring homes for people battling mental health conditions.
The Shopfront started in 2001. I went to see Archbishop Hickey about the problem we had with all the homeless people and looking for help. And so he told me, why don't you go and start a Shopfront? So the Shopfront first is a drop-in centre, and they get lovely volunteers who are warm and welcoming to greet them. But it's also a referral. So also then if you're homeless or you're looking for assistance, the Shopfront networks with a wide group of people so that they can provide emergency assistance for people who are in need. Last year, 25,000 people came through Shopfront. People can help by donating to Shopfront financially. Other people may say, look, we'd like to help with blankets or canned drives. So people can help in many ways, and all of it is really, really appreciated. Most recently of someone, a lady that we were able to help who needed some assistance for Christmas presents, and just seeing that family and the joy and the love that they experience by receiving the gifts of Christmas presents. And then her children were so excited when, I went to see them. Oh, she's come with gifts. And they asked me, please eat with us, please share with us. Thank you for the love you've shown us. And that to me is repeated again and again to all these people who come to receive a touch of love. I think it's really important to recognise the amazing work that all our parishes do to support Shopfront. Most of our volunteers come directly from the parishes. They give up their time to come and support those who are in need. And without the parishes and the support from our parishes, Shopfront would not be the warm, welcoming and caring place it is.
Emmaus started in 1996 when I was working in a crisis unit. People were coming into the crisis unit and were coming back to the crisis unit constantly. I prayed and asked the Lord to give us a property where we could have long-term independent community living. The benefits of community living are that people in the long term become family. Our mission statement is that every person created by God deserves to love and be loved, to be respected and to be taken seriously. This is what we strive for, especially with people who live with mental health issues. Our basis is the Jesus message. It's simple, yet radical. It's about love. If our community grows, it will be in love. It's not for profit, it's for the love of our brothers and sisters. If Emmaus didn't exist, I guess the people would be living in hostels. The difference between a hostel and Emmaus is a hostel is accommodation. We're here, it's a home, and that's what we're striving for anyway. If I had a message regarding how people should treat people with mental health issues, it's the same as treating someone with diabetes or cancer. So the message would be that we are all connected, we are all brothers and sisters, and love. Love is the message. I can't even tell you how strongly I feel and this community feels about this message. People can support us by supporting LifeLink because we're part of a web of agencies that help our brothers and sisters. And if people feel in their heart, how can I do this? And I want to do something here, support LifeLink because it does go straight to the source, believe me. And it has helped in so many ways here. And other agencies. I'm friends with other agencies and it helps many people.
Each year, LifeLink supported agencies deliver more than $50 million of professional programs, caring services, qualified personnel and resources for the benefit of the Western Australian community.
Thankfully, much of this funding is provided through various state and federal government grants and service contracts. However, to ensure our agencies are appropriately funded, the Church, through LifeLink, provides more than $1.2 million in direct funding each and every year. In addition to the substantial assistance the Church already provides with buildings and properties utilised by these welfare agencies. LifeLink's mission, its purpose, is to raise this required $1.2 million through my annual fundraising appeals and with the enthusiastic support of Catholic schools in this Archdiocese on LifeLink Day.
More information about LifeLink, photos, articles and teaching resources are now available on our new website. Please visit us at www.lifelink.com.au.
Thank you for taking the time to learn more about LifeLink and the work of our social service agencies. It's up to all of us to help make a difference. Let us reach out with generosity, with compassion and with love when someone asks us for help.
We heard in the video that LifeLink agencies reach out to help more than 34,000 Western Australians in need each year. I think that this number can be hard to imagine. So, to help us with a better idea of this, we just need to think of this local community around Newman College. 34,000 people is the equivalent to the entire populations of Churchlands, Woodlands, Wembley Downs, City Beach, Floreat, Mount Claremont, Shenton Park, Daglish and Jolimont. So let's talk about LifeLink Day. The Archbishop's LifeLink Day initiative for Catholic schools started in 1999. What we hope to achieve through LifeLink Day is to share with you how the Church responds to people in need in the community, to remind ourselves that Jesus taught us that we all have a responsibility to help our brothers and sisters in need, to share with you information about our LifeLink social service agencies, which help many thousands of Western Australian families and individuals in need each year, to encourage you to be generous and to make a gift to help support people in need throughout Western Australia. I'm pleased to say that you have all embraced and enthusiastically participated in LifeLink Day ever since it first began in 1999. We are grateful for the ongoing partnership with Catholic Education Western Australia, and so grateful to you, the principals, teachers and students from our primary schools. Catholic primary and secondary schools in this archdiocese have collectively raised more than $1.7 million through LifeLink Day. And every dollar has been directed to the care of people in need. This is a remarkable achievement, and you are to be congratulated on your efforts. I think we can give ourselves a round of applause. Last year, you joined together to raise more than $120,000 for LifeLink Day. Thank you very much. The Archbishop and I hope that this year, with your generous help, we will achieve $130,000. We are excited to see the result of your efforts when we join for the LifeLink Day Hearts unveiling later this morning. Now it's my pleasure to introduce and invite Archbishop Timothy Costello to speak with you and to officially launch LifeLink Day 2017.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here and to see all of you here in the auditorium, and I want to say a big word of thanks to Mr. Finneran and Newman College for allowing us to come here and to be able to share in the wonderful facilities that the school has offered us so generally. I meant so generously. That's what I was trying to say. I am also aware, of course, that there are lots and lots of people watching us on the live streaming, and so you're just as welcome as all the ones who are physically present, and I hope that everybody's excited as I am, because this is really one of those important occasions each year for me as the Archbishop, for Bishop Sproxton as the chair of LifeLink, for all of those involved in LifeLink, but also in a very special way for our Catholic schools, both our primary schools and our secondary schools. We had a launch for the secondary schools a few weeks ago, and now we're here to launch the primary school event. In a moment, I want to tell you a story, and there'll be some slides up on the screen to help you follow the story. It's a story that many of you will have heard before, but just before I do that, I think it's important. I was going to ask people some questions, but it's a bit hard with the lights in my face. I can hardly see you out there. So rather than ask you the questions, I'm just going to say that I presume everybody knows what a fable is. Maybe you could wave your hand in the air if you think you know what a fable is. Oh, not so many. There's a few who know what a fable is. Good on you. Hands down. Thanks. I'm going to tell you a fable, but I thought I should explain what it is, because a fable is a story that someone has, in a sense, made up. It's not a piece of history. It's a story that someone's made up to try and get a point across to us. And in a sense, the poem that we listened to, that the grade 6 students presented so beautifully this morning, is a fable, because I'm not sure that there ever was a particular bird who one day decided to have a little chat with God about whether or not the bird could fly. It's a kind of a creative story, isn't it, to teach us something really important. The fable that I remember best from when I was your age was one of Aesop's fables called The Hare and the Tortoise. Anyone remember this fable, The Hare and the Tortoise? A few of you have heard that story. It's about the hare, that's a rabbit, and a tortoise, and they decided to have a race one day. And of course, the rabbit could really run fast, and the tortoise was just that slow, plodding old tortoise. So they decided they'd have a race, and they set off together, and of course, the hare raced off. The poor old tortoise just kept going slowly and slowly, and at a certain stage, the hare thought, well, I'm better than him, I'm faster than him, I'm smarter than him, I can relax for a while now. So he played around for a while, and then he thought he'd have a little snooze. He fell asleep, and of course the tortoise was just going along, went past the hare, fast asleep, decided not to wake him up, headed for the finishing line, and of course the hare woke up, realised what had happened, got to his feet, went charging after the tortoise, but he couldn't get there in time, and the tortoise won the race instead of the hare. I'll leave you to work out what the deeper meaning of that story is. You can talk about it with each other later on maybe. But I'm not sure there ever was a real tortoise and a real hare that decided to have a race. Someone came up with the story to get a message across. Jesus used to do that all the time. The fancy word for those stories that Jesus used to tell is a parable. But they were just stories that Jesus made up in order to try and help us to see something important that he wanted to teach us. Maybe one of the best ones is the story of the prodigal son. I won't tell you that now, but you could have a look at that when you go back to school. Jesus didn't usually give his stories any title. So the story I'm going to tell, it's one of his, it's not one of mine, didn't have a title, so I've given it a title. And the title that I've given this story is The Man Who Lost His Heart. I think you all know why we're talking about hearts this morning. I think maybe a lot of you have been working on a little heart that you've brought along with you or sent along here that we might discover out on the oval a little bit later. So you already know something about the importance of hearts. Well, this story is the story of a man who lost his heart. So we're going to watch the slides. I'm going to just read the text. It comes straight out of the Gospel, so it's the words of Jesus himself. And I just want to talk a little bit about that story. So we'll have a look at the next slide now. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and who lived in luxury every day. There are lots of those sort of people around. Lived in luxury, had great clothes, looked after himself really well, had a fantastic life. At the gate of his house was laid a beggar, a poor man, a man who had nothing, named Lazarus. And he was so badly off that he was covered with sores. So he had no money so that he could go to a doctor to get himself looked after when he wasn't well. His whole body was covered in sores. And he was longing to eat just the scraps, the little crumbs that fell down from the rich man's table. It was so bad that even the dogs used to come along and lick the poor man's sores. The time came when the beggar died and the angels carried him to Abraham's side. Now remember, this is a fable, this is a parable. The rich man died and was buried. You can see on the slide there how upset all his wealthy friends were that the rich man died. There weren't too many people sad and crying about the poor man, but lots of people upset about the rich man. So the rich man also died and was buried. The rich man looked up into the sky, up into heaven, and he saw Abraham far away, and Lazarus was by his side. So the rich man called to him, "Father Abraham," he said, "have pity on me and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue." Because, of course, Lazarus was up with Father Abraham in heaven, and we all know where the rich man ended up. Abraham replied to the rich man, he said, "My son, remember that in your lifetime you received many good things, while Lazarus received many bad things. But now he is comforted here in heaven, and you are suffering." And then Jesus went on to explain not just the meaning of this parable, but the meaning of a lot of his teachings. Jesus said, "Whatever you did to the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did to me. And whatever you failed to do for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you failed to do for me." Now, I'm just going to leave that slide there for a moment because I just wanted to say a couple of words about that story before I go on to the next part of my talk. If you read that story, and you could go back to school and have a look in the Gospels, and you'll find it in one of the Gospels. If you read that story, you'll realise that the rich man wasn't or didn't seem to be a particularly bad man or a particularly cruel man. He didn't go out each day past Lazarus lying at his gate and laugh at him and make fun of him because he was so poor. He didn't kick him as he went past, didn't do anything to him. So he wasn't necessarily a bad man. He wasn't a cruel man. He wasn't trying to hurt somebody. So he doesn't actually fit in to the first part of what Jesus says up there on the screen. The rich man fits into the second part of what Jesus says on that screen. Whatever you failed to do for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you failed to do for me. I think the problem with the rich man was that he'd lost his heart. He went in and out of his home every day, and he didn't even notice that there was this poor, sad, sick and hungry man lying there whom he could have helped if he'd wanted to. He failed to see that the person was there and that the person needed some help. And I think that's the point that Jesus is trying to get across to us in the story. What makes us a good person isn't just the good things that we do, it's also the things that we avoid not doing. A good person is on the lookout for people in need and wants to do something to help them. So I think the message of the story, and it's really the message of LifeLink, is that good people notice that there are other people in need and they want to help. So that really leads me on just to the next slide that I wanted to talk about this morning. Each one of you would have in your school your favourite saints. Many of our schools are named after our saints. And in the Catholic Church, we're really lucky because we've got so many great heroes in our church. One of the great heroes of our church is Cardinal Newman, after whom this college is named. But another one of our great heroes is our own first Australian saint, Mary MacKillop, and there's an image of her up there on the screen. Mary MacKillop was born in Australia. She was born in Melbourne. She grew up in Melbourne. She moved to South Australia, and she eventually decided that she wanted to become a religious sister. And none of the orders that existed at the time seemed to be doing the sort of thing she wanted to do. So what did she do? She decided to create one of her own. As she gathered a group of women around her, the first sisters, the Josephite sisters, one of the things she used to often say to them is this, and you've got the words up there on the screen. She used to say to them, "Never see a need without doing something about it." That was the problem of the rich man in the story that Jesus told. His first problem was that he didn't even see the need, even though it was staring him in the face. And because he didn't see it, he couldn't do anything about it. And maybe if he'd lost his heart, even if he did see it, he might not have wanted to do anything about it. See how important it is not to lose your heart. Mary MacKillop used to say to the first sisters, but in saying it to them, she's really saying it to all of us, if you want to live a really good life, a really generous life, a really worthwhile life, this is the kind of person that you'll want to be. Someone who never sees a need without doing something about it. Now, LifeLink is all about helping us to do something for those people who need us. As the video showed us before, and as Bishop Sproxton has mentioned, there are lots and lots of people in Perth and in WA who really need some help. We need to be like Mary MacKillop. We need to be the sort of people who realise that there are people who need help and that we're going to do something about it. And one of the things that you can do about it is to help in your own schools to raise some money so that agencies like the ones we saw, the Emmaus Centre, Shopfront, the Emmanuel Centre, all of those different agencies, they're actually able to give people the help they need. We can't all run around and help everybody in need personally ourselves, but we can do something. We can help raise a bit of money so that those whose job it is to reach out to these people can reach out. But I think we just need to go a little bit further, and that leads me on to the next slide. The thing about Mary MacKillop is that she had eyes to see, but the rich man didn't. His eyes were closed, not literally, but figuratively. His eyes were closed because he'd lost his heart. Mary MacKillop never lost her heart, and so her eyes were always open and on the lookout for people in need. And you know, the people in need might be the people that you go back to school with in the bus. Or they might be the kids who are sitting on their own at lunchtime with no one to talk to. Or they might be the ones who are getting bullied. And if you've got a heart, like Mary MacKillop had a heart, but the rich man didn't have a heart, then you'll have your eyes open and you'll be saying to yourself, what could I do to help this person? And even more than that, or not more than that, but as well as that, you are the ones who've been chosen by your school to come here this morning so that when you go back to your school, you can kind of be at the centre of some efforts that your school will have to raise some money to help our LifeLink agencies. So be like Mary MacKillop. Have eyes that are open, on the lookout for people in need. That'll help you not to lose your heart. And of course, Mary MacKillop had ears to hear, but the rich man didn't. He must have walked past Lazarus, that poor man, day after day after day. And you could be sure that Lazarus was calling out saying, please give me something to eat. Please help me. But he couldn't hear because he'd lost his heart. And sad for him and sad for Lazarus. And so that leads me to the third point there, because it all sums up, doesn't it? It's all summed up in that last line. Mary MacKillop had a heart to love with, and the rich man didn't. I think one of the questions for each of us, not just for you out there, but for me as well, and for Bishop Sproxton and Dr. MacDonald and Mr. Mendez and Mr. Finneran and all of us, the big question for us is, are we going to be like Mary MacKillop, or are we going to be like the rich man in today's fable, today's story? I want to finish. I didn't want to talk too long this morning, but I wanted to finish with a prayer. So the prayer is going to come up on the next two slides, and I'd like you, we'll pray it together. We'll pray it slowly so we don't rush it. And I think it's a prayer that tries to catch up some of the thoughts I've wanted to share with you this morning. So if you're happy to do that, if you're happy to pray along with me, please do. Dear Lord, please give us eyes that are open so that we can see the needs of people. Please give us ears that are open so that we can hear people calling out for help. Please give us hearts that are able to love, that are generous, and that help us to keep going even when we want to give up and just think about ourselves. Amen. Just before I finish my little part of this morning's celebration and presentation, it's traditional each year that I announce which school or schools are to receive the Archbishop's Spirit Award for last year's LifeLink Day. Now, I say this each year, but it's really important that I say it again. The Spirit Award is not based really on how much money a school raises. Obviously, raising some money to help us with our agencies is really important, but there's something even more important than that. My Spirit Award is presented to the school which comprehensively demonstrates active support for my LifeLink Day initiatives, embraces the goals of LifeLink Day, and that is, and it's important to remember this, to not only learn about the Church's response to people in need within the Archdiocese, but also to undertake some form of fundraising in support of the social service agencies funded through LifeLink. The school that commits to educating students on their responsibility to care for those less fortunate in our community. And the school that promotes an ethos of caring and compassion to students, teachers, parents, and the wider community, that we all have a responsibility to show love and compassion, not just on LifeLink Day, of course, but every day. On the screen, you're going to see the list of the schools which have received the Spirit Award since it was first presented in 1999, and some of you here might spot your own school up there on the list. Once you decide to give an award, it means that there'll be schools that don't get the award every year. That's inevitable. There's a sense, of course, in which every school that engages with LifeLink in any way and to the best of their ability is really deserving of the award, because all of our schools, especially thanks to the help of the Catholic Education Western Australia, demonstrate real enthusiasm and generous support for LifeLink Day. But in choosing schools for the Spirit Award each year, Bishop Don and I try to identify schools which have made an extra effort, been especially creative, or gone that little bit further to help people in need. This year was a difficult choice. It is every year. There were a whole lot of schools that really we would have liked to give the award to. So before I announce the winner, I want to make mention of a couple of schools which fully embraced the educational aspects of LifeLink Day and organised some really exciting and innovative activities to raise money. So my thanks to everybody at Seton Catholic College in Samson, at the John the 23rd College in Mount Claremont, at Emmanuel Catholic College in Success, at the Padbury Catholic Primary School in Padbury, at Magella Catholic Primary in Balga, and at Loretto Primary in Nedlands. And let's give them a round of applause. And now the big moment where I announce the school that has won the LifeLink Award this year. There are two. One's a secondary school and the other is a primary school. I'm going to announce the secondary school first, just to keep you waiting a little bit longer. And then I'll announce the primary school, and I just have a suspicion that some people from that primary school might even be here this morning in the auditorium. So if you're not sure where they are, you'll probably hear a loud scream coming from a particular part of the auditorium in a minute. So from the secondary school, I'd like to congratulate Mercy College in Kundula. So we give them a round of applause. It's a pity we haven't got a drum set here. We could have had a drum roll, but anyway, we don't have it. So, there we are. Very good. And the winner is St. Helena's Catholic Primary School in Allenbrook. I think they should stand up, don't you? Stand up, St. Helena's, if you're here. Not here? Oh, there you are. Well done. I can't see you. Congratulations. You can sit down. Oh, you are sitting down, are you? Yes, good. So with that, I'm really delighted to officially launch LifeLink Day for 2017, and I'll finish my part of our presentation this morning just by offering you the blessing of God on all of your activities and all of your enthusiastic response to LifeLink for this year. The Lord be with you. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Archbishop. Well, good morning, everyone, and what a beautiful morning as we walked in to be here today here at Newman College for the launch of LifeLink Day 2017. And can I start by thanking those wonderful people who welcomed the official guests at the door. It's so important to have a welcoming heart and also to have a welcoming smile. Can I thank you, because I felt really special. So thank you for that. I'd also like to start by acknowledging that this country was the first country of the Whadjuk Noongar people, and ask that all of us respect their elders, their people, history and their culture. Thank you to Archbishop Costello for your blessing and officially opening LifeLink Day for Primary Schools 2017 today. And as mentioned, hello to those that are joining us via the live stream. We appreciate you sharing in this important day with us. Also like to thank Mr. Finneran, the Principal of Newman College, for making us so welcome here and sharing in your resources, as well as to Bishop Sproxton for your insight into how many West Australians are in need that are helped through the LifeLink. And it's quite mind-boggling to think of that 34,000 people, and then to see that diagram with all the suburbs taken up. That's how many lives we are touching by our fundraising here today, as well as to LifeLink. I'd also like to acknowledge Father Andrew and welcome him, and also acknowledge the wonderful system leaders, the principals that we have in the room here this morning. Can I thank you for your support of LifeLink? Without your support, LifeLink wouldn't be as successful, and contributions from Catholic Ed. But can I also thank you for your missionary discipleship and your leadership, educational leadership, day in, day out, to make our schools in Western Australia and the Archdiocese of Perth absolutely fantastic. So thank you for all your work and leadership. Let's put our hands together for the principals. I'd also acknowledge the staff that are here for your support, your work that you do day in, day out, giving witness to your faith, to the Gospels, making the message come alive to the young people that we teach, but also for your educational leadership and engagement of the young people in deep and rich learning to prepare them for life post-school. So can we put our hands together to thank all the teachers, please? And it's great to be here for 2017, continuing the tradition that started in 1999, where Catholic education, our schools, have contributed 1.7 million to the people in need. And I think that's important because I think it is one way of putting our faith into action and living out the gospel by uniting as a system to serve others. So thank you for all that. And I think it's more special today. We have our LifeLink Day hearts that we're going to go and see on the ovals at the moment. I think we have thousands upon thousands of hearts out on the oval. Hands up those that did more than 10 hearts sitting in the room here. Who contributed to more than 10? 50? 100? Fantastic. Thank you for your dedication. I can't wait to go and see them out there. And also, when we're thanking people, thank you to the Catholic Education ground staff and property staff who are out there putting 30,000 hearts in the ground, but also every year they support us in LifeLink and they do a fantastic job. Thank you for that. I'd also like to join Archbishop Costello and all of you once again congratulating St Helena's Catholic Primary School. Well done. Thank goodness you were here and you stood up. That was a long wait. And also to Mercy College on winning the Archbishop's Spirit Award for 2017. And to all the schools who are recognised for all their outstanding contributions, thank you. Because I'm proud of all of our schools who do such a great job in supporting LifeLink each year and you should be proud of your own efforts. So thank you. Supporting LifeLink with your school is an obvious example of our discipleship in action, of the realisation that your education you receive day in and day out, and your development as young leaders is given the strongest foundation when based around serving God and serving others. Your involvement in LifeLink enables the work of Catholic agencies to serve those who find themselves on the margins of society. And what a wonderful thing to do, to serve those who are on the margins because of mental health, because of poverty, because of domestic violence or unemployment. You're contributing to that work. But as the Archbishop put that fantastic challenge out, to be like Mary MacKillop, it's not just the one-off event that happens for LifeLink, but how do you have the heart, the eyes and the ears to hear the needs of those around you day in, day out? Simple little things, sharing a ruler, sharing a pen, helping someone do their homework, including someone who's excluded into your games, a friendly smile and a hello and a welcome. You can do that every day, that we can make a difference to someone's lives. And I hope that you take that challenge. It's a bold challenge the Archbishop's given us. How do we never see a need without responding to it in everything we do every day? So thank you. And I believe we're now going outside. Mr. Mendez is going to tell us we're going outside to have a look at the hearts. And before we do that, can I again thank you, students, for your great work. Can I thank you, principals, for your generosity, and staff for your generosity in supporting such a worthy cause and making Catholic education such a great system. Thank you.